Welcome back to this series of Dark Reading Tech Talks. Terry Sweeney here, contributing editor to Dark Reading. I am joined now by Brianna Leddy, Director of Analysis for Darktrace. Brianna, thanks for joining us for this tech chat today.
Thank you.
It's hard to pick up a newspaper or browse a website without seeing the latest in a ransomware attack. It's its own sort of special pandemic, I guess. You've been talking about an interesting aspect of ransomware, and those are actually attacks that don't make the headlines. So walk us through that a bit. Tell us what they consist of and why you think they might be emerging.
Yeah, thanks, Terry. And so I think we've all heard about some of those most destructive forms of ransomware, the Wasted Locker, Maze, Revil ransomware strains. But by virtue of the fact that we know them, that we have names for them, that means that security tools know about them as well, that they have the associated signatures and threat intelligence in order to catch these attacks in the future. And so what really concerns me is the unknown attacks, the ones that we don't know anything about, so we don't know how to predict them. We don't know where they're going to move next or what tools, tactics they're going to be using. It's extremely trivial nowadays with models such as ransomware as a service for anyone to launch a novel ransomware attack. And attackers can spin up new command and control infrastructure very easily. So it concerns me, these unknown attacks, the ones that we don't yet know about. And I think we need to think about a different way of how to approach these and how we can stop them.
It's I think a smart thing to be focusing attention on is the methods for addressing or containing these as you call them, ransomware that doesn't hit the headlines. Is it any different than some of the more conventional or the ones that are hitting the headlines? What's the difference between the two, I guess, in terms of protection or defense or containment?
So at Darktrace, we work with thousands of organizations that are successfully stopping these ransomware attacks every day. And a part of that is through our unique approach of self-learning AI, which is not trained on historical attack data of the ransomware events that we already know about, but rather it learns a unique sense of self for an organization, learning from the inside, from on the real, or from real-time data. And through that, we can spot those abnormalities, those subtle deviations that may indicate an in-progress attack. And more than just spotting them, we can actually work to autonomously respond, stopping this ransomware at the earliest stages before it's escalated into full-blown encryption or data exfiltration.
Can you give us an example of where your technology has been able to contain one of these new strains?
Yeah, one really interesting case that I saw recently actually stemmed from a compromised administrative credential. So that privileged credential was used to access an internal server, which then began sending out Windows Management Instrumentation, or WMI commands. Now, this is a great example of that living off the land, abusing a common Windows admin tool in order to move laterally while hoping to avoid detection. But of course, to self-learning AI, this was still unusual. That server didn't normally send those commands or use that admin credential at that time of day. So those subtle deviations were able to ring some alarm bells to that lateral movement. Another phase of that same attack involved command and control from multiple devices to a rare endpoint from the environment that was actually spoofing Google. And what's notable about that is there was no open source intelligence at the time to suggest that that endpoint was malicious. So any security tools that rely on known indicators of compromise would not have stopped these connections. So as it was able to proceed, we saw that lateral movement, reconnaissance, command and control as the ransomware spread through the environment till it ultimately encrypted files on a local server. But Darktrace's self-learning AI had detections along the entire attack lifecycle, providing numerous opportunities to discover as well as disrupt that potential ransomware.
So it's flagging any changes in behavior or activity, things that don't match maybe historical norms or patterns.
Exactly. Learning the sense of self, what is normal for a unique organization, not making assumptions based on industry or size, but really learning from that organization and their data and their environment. And then creating that sense of self so we can spot those abnormalities that could indicate a threat, whether that's ransomware or insider threat.
It's shocking, and maybe it shouldn't be in this day and age, but close us out by addressing how our viewers can protect themselves against this sort of thing, and how they should respond or even combat the ransomware strains that we're seeing today.
What we're finding is ransomware is no longer a human scale problem. With the speed and the stealth of these attacks, it's not enough for a human team to be able to handle on their own. And so the organizations that are successfully protecting against ransomware are using cutting-edge AI technology that can detect both known and unknown attacks as well as respond to them. So that use of self-learning AI and autonomous response technology really are the keys moving forward to detecting ransomware, especially the things that aren't hitting the headlines.
Brianna, thanks for joining us today for this Tech Talk. Some interesting and frightening insights into the evolution of ransomware. We've been talking with Brianna Leddy, Director of Analysis for Darktrace. This has been Terry Sweeney for Dark Reading. Thanks for joining us for this Tech Talk. We'll see you next time.